Councilmember Wilkerson, we are ready here in council chambers.
Thank you much, Hannah Lee. Good morning and welcome everyone to the Finance and Administration Committee meeting on February 28th, the last day of February, but I think March is already here because it's rainy and dreary outside, so we will proceed forward. I'd like to have approval of the minutes from January 24th. If I can get a motion for that, please.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second. All in agreement?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, and so is the order. So is there anything on the consent agenda like anyone like to be pulled or discussed further? All right, hearing none, then we will go ahead with our discussion items this morning. So we're going to start off with the mayoral appointment, and we're going to have Megan Stoffelson come to us. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning, Councilmember Wilkerson and council members. I'm pleased to bring forward the mayoral appointee to the Director of Customer Experience. Her name is Heather Sweet. We advertised the Director of Customer Experience November 2nd through December 2nd. This was a very attractive recruitment. We received 106 applications. 53 of those applicants did not meet the min quals. 25 applicants passed only the minimum screening, and then 28 applicants passed the secondary screening, which evaluated their knowledge, skills, and abilities through job description analysis. And then ultimately 10 candidates were selected to participate in the first round of phone interviews, and 5 of those candidates advanced to participate in virtual interviews. And ultimately the mayor has selected Heather Sweet for appointment to Director of Customer Experience. And I did send the council members her candidate portfolio this morning. It has her resume and some more statistics regarding the recruitment process attached. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Megan. I will say that I had the opportunity to interview her or have conversation with her. I think she will make a great addition. Councilmember Kinnear?
Thanks. Hi, Megan. Can you tell us, what is her educational background?
You know what? I don't have that in front of me right now, but that should be included in her candidate portfolio that I sent this morning. Let me see. I can actually
I looked through it. I didn't see it.
Okay, I'll follow up with Ryan Couch, the HR analyst that ran the recruitment. I can shoot an email to you guys later today.
Perfect. Thanks.
Councilmember Bingo? Did I see your hand up?
Yes. Yeah, I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with her, and really enjoyed our time. She seems very intelligent, very capable, has worked running a large organization before, and has helped to build and create culture. I think she's going to be terrific, so I'm looking forward to having her on board with the city.
Thank you for that. Any more questions? So in order for this to advance, I am requesting a co-sponsor, Councilmember Bingo. If I could have you join me in advancing her forward. Yep. Thank you so much. If there's nothing else for Megan, we will let her go on, and we will move on to the Spokane Police Department hire ahead. Jackie?
Good morning, City Council. Thank you for having me here today. And Assistant Chief Lundgren is also here with us. And this is essentially a request to allow us, if we reach the ability to do so, to hire 10 additional officers in addition to what our current staffing number that is allowed. So there may be a potential, if the opportunity arises, that we would be able to use this. And it's kind of, hiring is difficult in that right now we have 10 in the academy, we have 10 that are just in the training car, and sometimes we don't know exactly when people are going to retire. We received, I think, a notice last week for somebody that's going to be retiring March 10th. So in those situations, it would be hard to hire ahead when we receive kind of that last minute notice. However, this would be an amazing opportunity for us if we are able to anticipate those vacancies, that we would be able to hire ahead to fill vacancies so that maybe our numbers wouldn't come down, if that makes sense. So this is just a request for those 10 hire ahead positions. We do not anticipate, most likely, and I could be wrong, that we would be able to get into the actual higher head positions until maybe sometime next year, just given the fact that we have 2 BLEAs a year. In each BLEA, we're allowed 10 spots, so that would be 20 spots that we can hire there, and then in addition to any laterals that we get. So if that makes sense, we're hoping to be able to maybe use this opportunity in maybe 2023.
Thank you. Councilmember Cathcart, then Councilmember Bingle.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think this is super important, and I'm glad it's finally coming forward to be discussed. I wonder, though, you're talking about waiting till 23. You know, we authorized all those incentive dollars, so why not focus on laterals using those incentive dollars and just get staffed up ASAP? I don't understand why we have to wait till 23 to do that.
And thank you, Councilman Cathcart. It's not a desire to wait. It really just depends on how many people we can hire. So we have 10 in the academy right now. I think right now we know of at least another almost 10 vacancies that are coming up. So we will, if we are able to hire enough qualified lateral applicants to fill in the gaps between the entry-level people that we're hiring, we will absolutely do that. So, you know, that's just a projection. We will continually hire, and if we can get to those higher head spots, we would be more than happy to use them, and we absolutely appreciate City Council support for this, and we hope we'd be able to do it before 2023. It's just kind of a constant, it's a constant hiring process. So if we are to fill those gaps, it will be most likely with lateral applicants.
And then just to follow up on that, so I'm wondering, is the focus then, if you're able to do the higher head, that you'd be hiring patrol officers specifically, or is there kind of a range of levels of officers that you'd be looking at? I'm just kind of curious from your perspective.
No, so in my view, we're always hiring for the patrol level, right? Because we have to hire at the bottom, and so those positions may be used eventually to go to other positions, but in the beginning, we've got to hire that patrol level, and Assistant Chief Lundgren can probably explain that a heck of a lot better than I can, because I just really look at it as, you know, we've got to bring them in for that basic function of getting them trained up and getting them assigned to patrol.
But if they're laterals, I mean, we're not only going to hire laterals that are patrol officers, I guess is what I'm asking. If there's a detective, if there's a different level of rank is what I'm wondering. Are we going to also be open to hiring those?
Okay, no, so even if they're a lateral, we still have to bring them over. They have to do their training, and they still have to do their time in patrol before they could go elsewhere. So even if they came as a detective from another agency, we cannot bring them over and lateral them as a detective, or even as a sergeant. They still have to spend their time before they could either promote to detective or even a supervisor like sergeant level.
And that's the same even if they're from inside Washington State?
Yes, it is.
Huh. Okay. Well, that seems like it's a disincentive to get laterals to want to come over here then.
Well, and I think that actually also has to do with union contracts. I don't know, and I don't. So I don't know, Assistant Chief Lundgren, can you explain that better? I just know that we cannot bring them in, so I don't know if that's an HR thing, but we cannot bring them into like a detective or sergeant position. They come in as an entry-level position.
I don't know of any agency in Washington for sure, but I don't know of any agency in our area that allows or has lateral entries at detective or at supervisory levels. Typically, officers come in at the line. There's recruitment for executive level positions, higher level organization positions, and then sheriff's departments typically have a number of appointed positions at the top of their organization that they're free to bring people in from other agencies. But yeah, that's an interesting concept that maybe we'll see in the future, but it's not, we're not alone in not having that as an option right now.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Bingo.
Yeah, I guess on that question, because I think Councilman Cathcart is exactly right. That would be a disincentive for me if I went from being a CEO to a frontline individual. And so I guess, do we have the ability to change that and make it to where we can hire directly back into their same position if that's what's needed in our department?
I think if there was a will to do so, but when you're talking about incentives, it's a push-pull proposition, because people who are coming in as an entry-level officer there are opportunities for promotion, to be members of specialty teams, to go into supervisory positions that they can work towards throughout their career. If people were allowed to lateral into those positions from other agencies, the people that we bring in at the very beginning of their career as entry level would have fewer opportunities themselves. And so we may lose some of our up and coming leaders in the department going to other agencies to seek opportunities if they weren't here. So it's not a no. We certainly could explore that, but while we might be attracting people from outside the agency, we might be pushing our own officers away as well.
Yeah, and I understand that pushback because, obviously being a business owner, we know that hiring people who already have the culture and the vision and who are capable of stepping into that position is better. But sometimes, when you do have the opportunity to bring somebody in who's going to be a fantastic fit, putting them into that position isn't degrading in any way or disincentivizing others. You're always going to have competition, but I just, from an organizational standpoint, I think it has more benefits than downsides. But I guess that's a conversation we can have another time.
To speak on that a little bit, sorry not to interrupt, to speak on that a little bit, we have interviewed laterals from other agencies that have come over that were sergeants in their former agencies or detectives. And from those interviews, and obviously that, I haven't talked to people that didn't put in, but from their interviews, it wasn't a disincentive to come over here. They knew where they were going to have to start, and they were fine with it because the reasons that they were leaving and coming here still stood, whether that was they just wanted to be in the Spokane area, whether it was income-based, regardless of what it was. They understood that, and they were fine with that.
Yeah, and there might be a bunch of negatives for why they're leaving. This could be a positive. This could be a draw as opposed to a landing spot. This could be something that could draw people to our department. But I guess my question here, sorry, that got a little off topic from what I was wanting. Is our maximum capacity for training new officers 20 a year then? Is that what I just heard?
No, it's not that that's our training capacity. So we do 2 local basic law enforcement academies a year on behalf of the Criminal Justice Training Commission. In each of those academies, we're actually blessed to have 10 spots. So we can bring in entry-level 20 officers a year that we can put through BALIA. It's difficult to send them to the other side of the state, to Burien, because there was a very long waiting list for other agencies getting into Burien. So I say we're blessed because since we're the ones that host the academy, we provide most of the staffing for those academies. We are allowed to have 10 slots by the Criminal Justice Training Commission. So kind of our limit for new hires for entry-level positions is 20 a year. And the only way that we could go past that would be to do a third BALIA, and we just can't do that. And I just saw Councilwoman Kinnear kind of put on there that, this might be a good topic for Public Safety Committee, so we can talk about it more there. Is there another question pertaining?
No, yeah, we could talk about it at another time. Yep.
Okay. Is there another question relating to this SBO?
Council President Biggs?
Councilmember Stratton's ahead of me. Go ahead.
Sorry, Karen, I didn't see you. Go for it.
That's okay. It's Monday. Quick question. So is this a state law or is it a municipal law that they can't come over laterally?
We would have to do a little bit more homework on that, Councilwoman Stratton, which we're more than happy to do and present back to you.
Yeah, I would be really interested in that because it seems to me that if I was a captain in the Leavenworth Police Department or Seattle and I came over, I would want to know why I couldn't just be hired on a lateral basis. It'd be interesting to know where that rule comes from.
Right.
Thanks.
All right, Council President, I'm going to let you have this question, and then we're going to move on.
I will. Just a few things. One, the last meeting we had about this, I said I'd be happy to co-sponsor on this, so I'd like to do that. Secondly, I'd like to, when we go to public safety and talk about the traffic patrol officers that we've been talking about, because we have independent funding for up to 4 that we could do, and so I'd like to revisit that. And then 3, I would just like to get a little more specific on the timeline when we get to the special budget ordinance, so that we have some check-ins on that. I know that some of it is up in the air based on retirements, but it sounds like even if we didn't do this, we're going to have way more vacancies than we can train up through BLIA and even with laterals. So it's just kind of, I think, a good idea to give some extra capacity out there to be flexible, but I would like to just get a little more specific on that. But I'm super happy that we're moving forward with this. Thanks.
Yes, sir. And Paul and GOC worked with Assistant Chief Lundgren and I last week, and he has a chart that I don't know if it would be helpful or not to kind of talk about that, because we knew that you'd kind of wanted a plan. So he does have that. Paul, did you want to present that real quick?
Paul?
He's smiling. So I don't know if that's good.
No.
And Paul, I am not going to have you present that this morning. I think this really needs to be kicked over to public safety, because I think there's more questions than we have time for on finance this morning. Councilmember Cathcart, my last one.
Real quick question. This is for the council president. I'm just wondering, the 4 traffic positions, is it your thought that those would come out of the 10, or those would be on top of the 10 that they're talking about hiring?
Well, let's just talk about it. They are patrol officers essentially, and it gives that. But let's talk about it then. So.
Okay.
Great. Well, that gets us off to a roaring start this morning. So next we have from Department of Operations, Tanya, in regards to our grants. Tanya?
Good morning, council members. So yeah, this is a special budget ordinance to move, originally the request was to move 2 of the grant analyst positions, so the only 2 grant analyst positions in the city, from CHHS over to our grants team that is in finance. However, with some changes in staffing that has gone on with CHHS and a lot of hard work by Jennifer and Michelle on what the needs are to serve the city, we believe that we only need to transfer 1 of those positions from CHHS into finance. So we would like to modify that SBO. And then within finance, to strengthen that overall grant administration team, we would reclassify a vacant position that we have now into another grants analyst. So we'd have 2 grants analyst positions that would be really grant administrators in the finance area, and then have that other vacant position in CHHS really cater to subrecipient management in CHHS. So we think that that is the best structure for the city, and we've been working with CHHS again on this, and it was just until late last week that we were on the same page that that would be the most ideal structure to support the city and all the grants that we're administering at this time.
Tanya, does that affect the SBO?
It would. We would modify the SBO from, instead of 2 positions, to just 1 position. That would go from
the funding amount that we were moving around, would it be revenue neutral?
It would be revenue neutral, yes. Yes, even this SBO was revenue neutral. It just changes some of the lines.
Okay, Councilmember Kinnear.
I don't have my hand up.
Sorry, Councilmember Stratton.
We're interchangeable.
We are. People get us confused all the time. I'm assuming that these positions are going to be full-time positions?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Not contractual or?
No, full-time positions. All 3 of the positions that we're talking about, the 2 in CHHS, where it'll be just 1 that gets moved, but the other will still be there, plus the position that we already have identified that we're going to reclassify. They're all 3 vacant right now. So, but they will be full-time positions, permanent positions in the city.
And it will be an open recruitment? People will be able to apply? It'll be advertised?
Yes.
And, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Well, in order to move this item forward, we need a second council sponsor. Is there anyone willing to co-sponsor this? Have to speak up because I can't see everybody.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilmember Bingo. Any other questions for Tanya at this time? All right, Tanya, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll now have Paul come to us with salary savings. Have to unmute myself, sorry.
No problem. Thank you, Madam Chair. So this item is an SBO, part of the requirements that Council adopts SBOs for moving personnel expenses down to non-personnel lines. So we have a couple of vacancies in the Finance Division that we'd like to move to contractual services to assist. So we have one in the Finance Department, the Administrative Specialist position, one in the Grants Management Department, and then one also in the Accounting Department. And the totals are $110,000 in the General Fund, which will be moved from salaries to contractual services, and $15,000 in accounting.
Any questions for Paul?
And it's only for while we're recruiting.
So are we on 4? I got lost on the agenda. Are we on number 4?
We are on number 4, Councilmember Stratton.
Okay, I had some questions sent to me, so give me a minute.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, Paul, can you go through that, just go over that really, really quick for me again?
Sure. It's an SBO to move personnel expenses down to contractual services to bring in some temporary, not temp seasonal, but contracted employee positions to help out while we have some vacancies that we're recruiting for. The first one is the Administrative Specialist position in the Finance Department. The second is the Grants Manager, the Director of the Grants Department. And then the third is an Accounting Clerk in the Accounting Department.
Okay, so just, I'm going to tell you the concern that I've heard, and we don't have to talk about it now if you can get some answers for me. But what I'm hearing is that constitutes work diversion, which is subcontracting, by contracting work previously completed by city employees to external consultants or somebody externally. So the other part of that question is why the vacancies are not currently being filled, and for how long the work is envisioned to be externally contracted. So there's a concern there about diverting work from city employees to outside contractors. And if I could get some response to that, that would be great.
We can send something written, and I think Michelle is able to answer some of those right now as well, so I'll mute for a second.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Kinnear, then if Michelle's on in the Zoom room, she could speak up. Councilmember Kinnear. You're on mute, Lori.
Of course I am. The first position you mentioned, what was it again?
The Administrative Specialist in the Finance Department.
And what does that person do?
It was previously Amy Blaine and Laura Williams.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah, those positions are really important, so I got it. Thank you.
I just saw Michelle on the screen. Michelle, you want to comment?
Oh, no, I was just telling Paul he could talk because I turned my microphone on.
All right, in that case, Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is there a policy that we have that prevents us from hiring contractors to do any work, or is this just part of something that's in a union contract somewhere?
I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I'm not quite sure if there's a policy around it or not. Just to clarify on some of the questions that were already asked, and it's kind of in relation to my item. So can I just proceed forward with my item, Betsy?
Sure, go ahead. We are now on number 5.
Okay, so what this is I have a contract with Robert Half. Thank you again for letting me speak. I have a contract with Robert Half that I utilized at the end of last year and the beginning of this year because I had 5 accounting clerk vacancies and civil service was going through the recruitment process. They got me a list of 20 names. We hired 4 of them, and one of them hired, left, and I needed somebody in that seat. So I was able to have this contract with Robert Half to fill the position temporarily. We have since filled that position, and this part of that SBO that Paul is bringing forth is just to kind of fill the gap with that contract and the funding of that contract. Now, onto the other 2, contractual for senior grants and the grants. We have had long discussions with Eric and Jennifer Sarcides, and we have determined that we only need to move 1 of those positions, not 2. We're going to leave them with 1, and then 1 grant's coming into grants, and then reclassify an assistant position to a grant position. And what I'm asking for is to add to this Robert Half contract to contract out the administrative work for Tanya and 2 of these grants positions to temporarily fill spots until civil service can get us a list. They haven't recruited. There is no current list. They have to go do the classifications. They have to do the analysis of the positions and make sure they're properly classified and go through the whole entire recruitment process. And that's going to take like 3 to 4 months. And we need people in these seats right now to help with the ARPA grant and then to help organize and structurize the city grants citywide. So this is just temporary through this year to fill these spots until we can go through the proper recruitment process with civil service.
Thank you, Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Any other
Karen,
questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Councilmember Stratton.
I want to make sure, so the purchasing director position that's open, where does that include this one, or is that on a separate process? The Sally Stouffer position.
Do you want me to take it? Councilmember Stratton, so that director position is still vacant, pending a review by HR to have it reclassified for just a purchasing director position and to uncouple grants administration from purchasing. The reason that the city had that together as a single department was really for management purposes, but normally those functions, they don't have anything to do with each other. They're very separate and distinct functions. So HR has had that request for some time, but with short staffing, they have not been able to get to it. But these contracted services, none of that supports that position at all. That position will still be forthcoming and going through the recruitment process for an appointed position. But we're still waiting on HR to be able to get to that, to review it, and then we will start the recruiting process just as soon as we are able to do that.
Yeah, because that position's not protected by civil service, so
Correct.
that should be able to move along. Once you separate it, should move along
Yes.
pretty quickly.
And that is certainly the intent.
Great. Thank you, Tanya.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions around this particular topic? If not, then from finance, we will move on to Michaela on purchasing vehicles. Michaela? I don't know if she is in the space right now. So let's move on, and we will come back to her in a minute to see if she shows up. Can we jump over to you, Paul, on our monthly transfer report?
Thank you again, Madam Chair. I will share the 2 reports pretty quickly. So the first one you should see on the screen, and I believe these are in the packets as well, would be the general fund changes through January 2022. The adopted budget was approximately $216.7 million. The amended budget, or the current budget, is $221.3 million. That's a change of 4.6. And on the second page, you can see that's entirely due to the encumbrance carryover SBO that was processed. It started in January, so in our system it processed in January, even though you all passed it in February. Any questions on the encumbrance carryover? Okay.
Keep going.
Sure. I'll move over to the intrafund budget transfer report for January 2022. These are changes between different expense categories. There are several pages worth here. The first two I just wanted to point out in italics. These are actually period 13 from 2021 transfers that we received throughout January. So I just wanted to include them on this report as well. But all the rest are the ones that occurred for January 2022. And happy to take any questions on any of these as well. Okay.
Thank you, Paul. As always, you're succinct. I'm going to keep moving on and save Michaela for last. So if we would move on to Tanya Wallace in Division Organization Amendment. Tanya?
Thank you, council members. This goes along with what we just spoke about a minute ago regarding the SMC changes that are required to redefine the Purchasing, Grants, and Contracts Department so that it's really just the Purchasing and Contracts Department, and Grants Administration would then move under accounting, which is where it was many, many years ago. So this just redefines something to a much more standard department structure.
That org chart was in the packet. Are there any questions for Tanya on this realignment? Thank you, Tanya. Hearing none, then we will go on to Garrett Jones and the new dog park development, a hot topic.
Hot topic. Good morning, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to update you on what we're considering a very positive outcome and a step in the right direction with our partnership with the school district. So I'm just going to share a presentation here real quickly. Hopefully you can see my screen. And just to give you a little bit of background on this, a lot ask why. Okay, why is Parks and Recreation involved in this topic? And as you know, there was a lot of passion around the buffer zone that was previously utilized as what we consider, an unofficial dog park, but the citizens used it as a dog park. And you can see the graphic on the right-hand side here of where the new middle school is going that would occupy of where that unofficial dog park was previously. We took that passion as a great opportunity in Parks and Recreation to work with the stakeholder group, the citizens and the school district, as we're working on our master plan and natural land master plan update. And so really recognizing the need to both improve our dog park and off-leash areas citywide. We wanted to take this as an opportunity in partnering with the school district of going through a study and identifying the citywide need, but then also looking at a recommended location and the general vicinity of where this unofficial dog park is, and perform what we call, this is an engineering term, but it's a type size and location study by the end of 2020 to partner with the school district on. And I broke it down just in a couple slides here of what the city responsibilities are and then what the school district responsibilities are. And we formed an MOU that did go through Park Board this last month in support. And a part of this is, completing our master plan by the end of the second quarter of 2022. With that being said, what we're going to do right now, and we're in works with a consultant, is to complete a citywide, that type size and location study to identify potential locations, recommended sizes, preferred layouts, typical improvements and amenities that the citizens would like to see in their dog parks across this community, and then look at the average costs. And so what this study will do is really give us a kit of parts and recommendations on guidelines of defining, dog parks, off-leash areas, maybe pocket dog parks, off-leash parks. And that's a part of the overall picture that we're working on here shortly. And then with that, we'll identify a committee of citizen stakeholder groups, and we'll recommend proximate locations and those improvements in the city-wide response, and then recommend those to the park board. We found in our master plan and our survey results that dog park and off-leash areas would qualify really in that kind of top tier of what we saw. A lot of responses around more access to these type of facilities, and so this really goes hand in hand well with what we're trying to tackle with the school district as well. The study will be complete prior to October of this year, 2022, and then city staff will administer the study, and then also when that committee also recommends the preferred site that would be basically that replacement of the unofficial dog park, we would then also administer the design and construction of that official dog park in cooperation with the school district. The city also would be responsible at the end of this to maintain and operate with our partners, and we list our partners because it's important. We have a lot of great relationships around experts and organizations that we have in this community to help us manage dog parks, and we have those relationships currently, and we want to be able to build on that as well. And then with the school district responsibilities, they would be a part of this process as well with us. And for that replacement dog park in that general vicinity, the school district has agreed at no cost to the city to fund the design, engineering, and construction of that facility. And also with the timeline, we're looking at having this facility complete by April of 2023. And the reason for that is as the construction continues on the middle school, we want to limit the disruption of level of service as much as possible of that temporary structure that they have on school district property today. In the future, that will become sports fields adjacent to that and support that middle school. And so the timing with April 2023 has been working with the school district to make sure that we could have that preferred site in the works and ready to go by that April date, so then we can transition wherever that official dog park is going to see that limited level of service disruption. With that, is there any questions for me?
Councilmember Cathcart and then Councilmember Kinnear.
Yeah, thank you. So Garrett, you said that the school district will pay for all of this. So does that mean they're going to reimburse for all time spent, everything? So there'll be no cost to the city in this?
The cost, we are going to perform the study at our cost, and this is something that just out of the master plan was a high enough priority. We wanted
That's a citywide study, right?
Citywide, yep.
That's not, yeah.
But the design and the support, the engineering and the construction, that will all go through the school district. So we'll work with the school district to select the designer and the contractor, but all that sole cost will go through the school district.
But in your description of city responsibilities, it includes like a staff person who's going to be in charge of managing all this. So, I mean, is that going to be reimbursed? I mean, I guess what I'm wondering is what is going to be, when this is all said and done, what will have been the cost to the city? Because obviously staff time has a cost. I mean, there's a cost to all of this. So I'm just wondering what the cost is. Because this wasn't a dog park officially to begin with. So we're creating a brand new park. And so I just want to make sure that whatever the amount of resources that we're putting into this, we're putting in an equal amount into Northeast Spokane for a dog park there, where we have never had a dog park.
Yep, that's a great consideration and a great comment. And so this would be no outside resource. Again, this would be just full-time city staff supporting that. So we're not going to reimburse our full-time city staff and helping manage it. And when I talk about management, it's really just making sure that the design and the construction is in accordance of the study and the recommendations. So it's putting those controls in and working with the school district just to make sure we're delivering on what the citizens told us.
And I think it's a great partnership. I mean, I have no problems with doing the project at all. I think it's great. I think, everybody wants a dog park, but there are other parts of town that have had substantially less resources, and I think there's opportunities to do something similar, and maybe this model is something that we can replicate in Northeast. I just want to make sure that what we're putting in one place, we're gonna try and do our best to do the same thing in other parts of the community as well.
Absolutely, and you have your commitment on that, and I do think with this study and then the follow-through on the design and construction, this will be the model on defining what dog parks are, off-leash areas. And I didn't mention, I want to mention this too, in this study, we're also looking at, it's just not park department land, it's also just what we call city-owned land, and then that's in partnership with utilities and other departments. We want to make sure that we don't limit ourselves to just existing parks, because we did hear loud and clear in our survey results as well, that natural lands are important to the citizens, improvements to our neighborhood parks. So we are looking at what we consider either underutilized city-owned facilities and land as well, a part of this study, and then that's our great partnership too that we have with Marlene on just identifying what those win-wins could be outside of parkland.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Thanks, Garrett.
Yep.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Thanks. So, Garrett, I'm a big proponent of dog parks, even though my dog is not a candidate because of socializing issues, shall we say. Two things. One, are there going to be, when you're doing the design, are you going to be designing hardscape? In other words, are there going to be any kind of pergolas? Other than fencing, what other kind of hardscape will there be that would be a cost?
I think a big one for us, Lori, it's a great question. I think it also depends on the location and the type of dog park that we're going to implement. When we look at other costs associated with this, a lot of this is going to be around egress around parking, other support facilities of like water and access to either permanent or temporary restrooms. And then depending on, the natural landscape of shade was another big consideration as well, whether it's amenities like benches and things like that. And that's too with this Kidde Park, it's going to be basically like a dog park best practices. Like here's your must-haves to have a successful dog park or off-leash area, and here's kind of your want-to-haves. And then it's just working with the stakeholder groups to identify, depending on the locations, and that's why it's still pretty broad, because it really depends on the landscape and the location that we choose, to identify exactly what are those must-have amenities for this to be successful. And some of our concerns too is just the impact on the ground surface or the landscape around it, whether it's compaction or the native landscape, what type of material or surfacing should we have, whether it's, like crushed granite surfacing, or do we just want, natural turf, or is there a combination of wood chips and things like that? I'm going into the details, but those are the considerations that we need to consider, because what we don't want to do is also take over a natural landscape that citizens use for other purposes, turn it into a dog park, and then see those negative impacts in some cases that dog parks do have on our native landscape. So we just need to find that balance.
So that brings me to my next question, which is, we have a lot of parks that are being used as ersatz dog parks right now. And there are several in our neighborhood. I know there are others in all of our districts. So there aren't dog parks, but people are using them as off-leash areas. So when you're doing your analysis, I would suggest making sure you include those areas for analysis, because it's kind of like when you look at how people take the shortcuts, and that's where you want to put your path. So you don't want to try and direct people to another area. They're already using that. So let's analyze that and say, okay, is this a place that we could take out some of the land from an existing park and use it as off-leash? And you know the park I'm talking about too, up in my neighborhood. So that would be my ask. Thanks.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, Lori.
Councilmember Bingo, then Council President Biggs.
Thank you so much. So I have a few questions for you. Who suggested that the school district pay for the construction and not the Parks Department?
That was a long discussion, Councilmember Bingle. I think it was a mutually commitment between both parties, the Parks and Rec and the school district, of even though we weren't directly involved, there was a need that was being taken away, and whether that was communicated correctly or not, and the evolution of design and whether we could build on the landfill or not. But coming out of it and working with the leadership at the school district, we thought using what we already have underway and using our expertise. We're great in the public comment, public survey, getting input on the Parks and Recreation side, using the leverage of our master plan, and school district, they're good at the capital as well and being able to fund that. And a part of this too, it was a part of the original bond as well, that they were going to have some type of off-leash area associated with this school. So in this case, it really made sense to say, all right, we'll take some ownership of that outreach. You take some ownership of that capital cost.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just think it's a great idea, so I wanted to send that person a thank you.
Council President Beggs? Oh, sorry, Jonathan.
Sorry, I have a couple more questions real quick. So what is the cost of a dog park relative to the other parks? Because I know that dog parks inherently have, potentially more cleanup issues than some of the others. So is there a significant added cost in a dog park versus a regular park?
From a maintenance on the capital side, it really depends on the size and location, those amenities, like I mentioned before. On the maintenance side, traditionally, we've had great partnerships with our third-party organizations and nonprofit organizations that have helped us maintain those facilities that really speak the pet language, that help with, the pet cleanup, enforcing the rules and etiquette of this is what you should be doing at a dog park, not only for the pets, but for humans as well. So we haven't seen, again, we don't have a ton of examples. We have a small dog park on Riverside, and we have one in High Bridge Park, which has limited maintenance for us as a department. But also with the survey and the master plan, we recognize the need. So at the same time, we need to respond as a city to provide those needs citywide.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is that to echo what Councilman Cathcart said, Dogtown has historically been used as a derogatory term for the Northeast. And I think this could be a great way to have a nice dog park up in the Northeast to sort of reappropriate that name and be something that's more of a welcoming term than one that's been used as a derogatory term for the folks in the Northeast. So that's my last comment there.
Thank you. And just a comment too on that, I was able to attend a couple of the public meetings that the school district had, and it was amazing of the amount of distance that citizens travel to utilize a dog facility, and a lot of those coming from the north, and recognizing that need to have those type of amenities on the north side as well will definitely be a part of that study.
Okay. Thank you. Council President.
Yeah, I had a few things to say. The first is I'm really excited that we've moved to this situation where we're going to develop the kit of parts and the template for the whole city, and that's something I've been pestering the Parks Department and the school district for from the first time that we negotiated this, is to say that let's use this as an opportunity, because as Councilmember Kinnear mentioned, people are using schools, playfields, and parks as dog parks all the time. And if we can fence off a portion of it and have the dogs in the one place and everyone else in the other, it'll go much better for all, and people really like it. And so I've been pushing for this. So I'm super excited that we're out of this kind of dispute over this one dog park. We're going to create benefit for the entire city. And as Garrett mentioned, the model is that the people who use the parks form nonprofit associations and really help with the maintenance and promote it and keep people there. And then there's opportunities for potential advertising for pet-related companies to help pay for some of the things. And so I think it's just really great that we're going to not just establish a couple of formal ones going forward, but that we'll get the template so that any neighborhood that's really interested can figure it out. And the city can be a catalyst without not that much money. And the other thing I just wanted to harken back, especially for newer people on council, is several years ago, we made this partnership between the school district, the Parks Department, the library, Department and the city overall on helping the taxpayers. And so we gave this land that was city land to the school district at no cost. That's one reason why they're paying for the new dog park, is that we gave them land. And what we realized back at the time was this has already been purchased by the taxpayers. And so simply selling it back and forth between government jurisdictions is just going to add costs. And so we have a really fabulous partnership. Thus, we have the library at Shaw and different things. We're probably going to put in our water tank on school district property up on the South Hill. That's going to save us a lot of money. So I just want to affirm that process, and we have a regular group that includes a couple of council members, a couple of school district members, and some administration people. So this is just all going according to plan and vision. So couldn't be happier. Thank you, Gareth.
All right, Councilmember Cathcart, you have one more question, and we're going to move on.
Yeah, just back to the maintenance really quick. I'm just kind of wondering how frequently do we check on and make sure that maintenance is happening at these places? So I know folks who obviously live near the downtown dog park, and it's not in the greatest state. Broken gates, stuff's not getting removed. There's no signage that even tells people that legally they're supposed to pick up after their animals. And so I'm just kind of wondering who goes by, make sure that stuff's happening, make sure that there's maintenance, and is there a plan for that with this new site as we go forward?
Great question, thank you. With the one on Riverside, that is a unique, interesting mix between, that was an engineering utility project that was a part of the whole CSO tank and that whole improvement schedule. And we do have our park operations staff that do regularly rove the areas and then communicate with what we consider, capital or non-capital in those senses, and how we can repair those, and working with engineering services on that one. With the other one as well, we do have what we call the staff lead that'll work with the third party. So we have MOUs with all the third party kind of managers, those nonprofit organizations that are the lead staff person that communicate with those organizations on the maintenance. And I would say too, a part of this kit of parts is looking at the maintenance and operations and giving us a template as well to make sure that it sets up, here's kind of the rules of the road, here's how it should be maintained. Because at the end of the day, we don't want these facilities just to become something that is a deterrent, not something that's positive, and also has, that takes away too much resources for the Parks Department, and at the same time has some negative impacts on the environment and the ground around it. So a part of that study, it definitely will look at what those recommendations are for the O&M of these facilities.
One last thing I'll add is I know there's some frustrations with the downtown one, and so if there's any way to strengthen or kind of revisit those MOUs and just make sure that work's getting done, I think that'd be really helpful.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. Another exciting conversation. Look forward probably to seeing you at Urban Experience with an update on what's going on with parks. All right. In regards to fleet services, Rick Giddings has joined us. Thank you, Rick, to take us through these purchases of AHEAD vehicles.
Thank you for letting me be here. Sorry, I'm a little flat-footed. Michaela just asked me if I would speak to this. We are thinking strategically again when it comes to our vehicle purchasing dilemmas with the market the way it is. Right now, we're seeing monthly increases on vehicles that we're trying to purchase, and we're seeing order banks that are open for a week or two and then closing up to 80% faster than they normally do. So similar to what we did last year, we're asking for some pre-approval on several vehicles that are in the budget that we're going to purchase. But getting pre-approval on this allows us to avoid some of those increases that are coming into the market, and will allow us to avoid missing the small windows that we have to purchase some of these vehicles. Just an example of a vehicle that we are trying to purchase, we were given notification that if we weren't able to write a PO within 30 days, that the vehicle price would be $80,000 higher than it would have been, if we could purchase it within that month. So, again, trying to think strategically here. There's a list of 23 vehicles. I can go through them if you like, but these will all be purchased on a regular competed contract. So the prices are going to be as cheap as they possibly can be. The numbers on here don't really reflect actual dollars because we don't have those yet, but they will be as cheap and adhere to the competed contracts for every one of them. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Rick. Any questions for Rick? Councilmember Kinnear, then Councilmember Cathcart.
I just want to make sure I heard correctly. You said 80,000, 8 with 4 zeros.
80,000. Yeah, this one particular vehicle, it was and we were able to get that one under the wire, but with 23 other vehicles and $3.5 million, we're talking about anywhere from a potential of a 50,000. You know, if we take longer than a month to buy some of these vehicles, we're talking potentially $100,000 to $150,000 extra in costs just from waiting, because the market is moving fast right now.
And so this vehicle that would cost 80,000, what is it?
This is a tractor.
Okay.
A big tractor, right?
Okay.
So, not all of them are moving up that fast. We're talking 2 to 5%, and they're not all going up that fast, but one thing's for certain, they're all going up.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, thank you. I don't see all the lease and purchase terms in here. If you could forward that, that would be great. But my question is, what is the first and the last on the list, the F600 and the F-150? What are those for? Because it looks like everything in between are, you know, specific products for, you know, heavy type stuff. But I'm wondering the first and the last, what are those going to be used for?
Yeah, so the F's, and again, I'm a little flat-footed because I'm just looking at this for the first time, but the F600 is for solid waste collection. That is for a container hauler. And we found out last year that before the budget was approved, the order window had closed, and so we're trying to get this on this year's order window. And since we don't know when it's going to open and when it's going to close, we want to just make sure that we have that one on there. And then the last one, the Lightning, we actually tried to lease some Rangers for water. Those leases got canceled. Ford canceled many, so they canceled 12 of the orders that we had already made last year. And so since then, the F-150 Lightning has shown up as being available to order. And so it's a long window, but 31 weeks plus to get one at this point, probably longer than that. But so I think that we can get charging infrastructure in place and order those Lightnings, once the order bank is open, but it'll take quite a while to get them. So I think that we can get those into our fleet.
And can you when you send over the lease purchase stuff, could you also include what the cost is of the infrastructure to make those F-150s work?
Yeah, we'll get you as close as we can. That we have to get a full bid program, but we know from previous experience that we're looking somewhere around $30,000 to get 6 charging stations, and that's round numbers. We can get you as close as we can get.
So about $5,000 a piece.
That's what it's been. That's with the Vista's help on those things. Yeah, it's been somewhere in there.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Rick. Is there any other questions? I think we all understand the market right now. Even a new car is going to take you 6 months if you order it today. So thanks, Rick. We will go on and we will end our meeting with Tanya from Investment Allocation Methodology. Tanya, or whomever's going to do that.
It'll be me. Thank you, council members. So we've been looking at interest allocation, and by RCW, we are required to have a resolution that defines how we allocate interest that is earned between our different funds. Well, right now, we are allocating interest on 2 different bases. One base is based on a proportionate share of all the interest that's been earned. And then there's another calculation that is based on an 84-month average of LGIP and that rate. Well, this little group over here, what has happened since 2019 when that methodology was first created and used, is that interest rates have been dropping substantially, as we've all seen over the past couple of years, and it is starting to cost the general fund money when we offer a guaranteed rate. So what we're proposing is that we have just a single allocation based on the proportionate share of actual interest that is earned between the funds, with one caveat, that those particular funds that have less than a $2.5 million average investment balance will not have any interest allocated to them, and that interest just goes into the general fund. The reason for that is when we've looked at this, sometimes we're doing entries for like 7 cents because the balance is so low that it is literally pennies that we're doing. And this additional allocation method that we're talking about, I know it seems small, but it's impactful still. Takes 3 to 4 hours a month to calculate and determine and then run those entries in through the system. So by consolidating, have a single methodology that's just proportionate, and we can automate so that if it's less than the $2.5 million, it's just all set, and we're saving about 3 to 4 hours of staff time doing this without a material difference to those funds. So there's that. I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Tanya? So Tanya, you said in our RCW, so standard accounting practice, what we're discussing here, and if we're actually making money or there's interest, where does that go? I understand the low end. What about the high end?
Well, proportionate allocation means that we're just taking whatever the interest was actually earned that month, and everybody gets their fair share.
Okay.
And that is standard.
Any other questions? Councilmember Kinnear?
So this is new information. I'd love to do a deeper dive with you, Tanya, on this.
You bet.
I know every single detail. I, do a mind meld so I know everything that you know. That'd be helpful. Thanks.
I'll schedule something for you,
Thank you.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Great. Anything else for the good of the order? Well, thank you all for joining us this morning at 10 a.m. We'll be back on schedule in the month of March. I believe that will be March 21st at our usual time, 1:15. We will see you all this afternoon again for public safety. Thank you, and we'll see you later.